Alright, so I want to do a quick video on tank runes and masteries. First, I'm going to go over them in general, and then I'll go over each of the champions I've played so far and tell you what I think of what you should get on them. So, going over the resolve tree, this is what you'll be using on almost every single tank, except for Trundle, which you might want to go into precision, but you can also run Grasp on Trundle, so it just depends. Okay, so Grasp, really good. I'd say you take Grasp 90% of the time. Aftershock, it's good, but only on the right champion, and we'll get to which champion that is later. Unflinching, don't like it. I don't like that you have to use a summoner spell to gain stats. I like to be more conservative with my summoner spells, especially like when this is more an aggressive summoner, where you'll flash in, you'll get that tenacity and slow resistance. I don't like it. I haven't taken this a single time. Demolish, I've gotten very, very little value out of Demolish, and I think that it's only really good on Shen when you're split pushing as a tank. Potentially, also good on Yorick. But I haven't played any Yorick yet, so I can't say that for sure. I haven't had any good luck with Demolish. I've brought Font of Life on most every tank. I would never bring Font of Life on Shen because it's too unreliable. I'd still bring Demolish on Shen. But Font of Life on almost every tank you play, especially the ones with CC, like, AoE CC, Font of Life will be great. This is all situational, early armor, early MR, or scaling. So that's pretty self-explanatory. Overgrowth I haven't used yet. I've done numbers on it, and even at, let's say, to get 4% maximum health, you would need, let's see, 160, you'd need 320 minions to die in your vicinity. That would maybe take you to 35 minutes, and then let's say you have 3,000 health at 35 minutes, and 4% of that is 120. So 120 health after 35 minutes, not so great. And that's at 3,000 health. Even with a little bit more, you'll only be getting up to 150 or so. That is pretty low value when you do the number on Overgrowth. And I also have grown to realize Revitalize really isn't that great either, unless you have maybe Soraka on your team. I think Second Wind is the best mastery in every case. I use this, I've checked this in the numbers in lane, and you're gaining back maybe 500 to 800 HP in lane, and that's really, really good. That might not sound like much, like that's one health bar, but that is really helpful when you're playing against poke matchups. I'd say you'd be taking Second Wind almost every single time. Maybe Revitalize when you're playing, like you're playing Scion, where you shield yourself, and you have Soraka who has heals, or maybe even it's. I tried it on Maokai last game, and I'll show you. It really didn't seem that good. This is a 20 or a 60-minute game, so we obviously stomped. But I was taking a lot of damage, and you can see I only gained back 319 HP in a 16-minute game, while, let me show you, Revitalize on this game, or Second Wind, gave me 2,588 over the course of the game. If you do the math on that, Second Wind high is much, much more value. So that's the reasoning behind Second Wind. I thought Second Wind would be trash, but it's not. Okay. So now that we've got the keystones, or the main tree, under our grasp of knowledge, we can go through the champions. So first, we are doing Shen. Grasp, pretty obvious. Don't want to take Aftershock. You'd have to hit Taunt, and even then. The reason you don't want to take Aftershock on most characters, even the tanks with CC, is because if you're not utilizing the damage of Aftershock, I feel like you're not getting any value out of it. It's not like Colossus, where you can just sit there and even the absorption of damage is value. You're still going to be taking damage even though you get armor and resistance. And the circle of Aftershock is pretty small. So don't do it on anybody except for Maokai. And I'll get to Maokai later. You might even be able to take it on Nautilus, but I'd still say Maokai, almost only Maokai. Shen, Grasp, pretty obvious. Demolish, because Shen is one of the only split pushing tanks, and he doesn't get a lot of AD. Iron Skin, and every single time we get to the second tree, it'll be situational, depending on whether you want to scale your reverse magic damage or your reverse physical. And then second wind every time. These bottom two will be extremely self-explanatory. Second wind almost every single time because it's just so much more value than these. And then the only ones that change up are like top, where you sometimes get Demolish. And overall, Resolve is pretty self-explanatory with if you just use your brain. So the bigger thing is the secondaries. Secondary tree can be up for debate. I do Transcendence on Shen because CDR. On my old room page before the patch, I brought CDR. I continue to do that because it's great on that champ. Ultimate Hat, I'm unsure of because Shen ult is already so long CD that usually you're not trying to spam it off cooldown. You're trying to set up plays, and you might not be able to find that play even with the lower cooldown. I'm taking it now because I'm still doing some testing on it. That being said, if you didn't take Ultimate Hat, you'd probably be taking Scorch instead. And if you didn't want to do that, you could try Domination. Cheap Shot would be very good on Shen, and the rest of these aren't that good on Shen, but you could take like Ghost Poro or something. But for now, I'm mainly doing Sorcery in all my tanks because 10% CDR is super high value on tanks because you want to get your CC off more often. Okay, on to Maokai and Nautilus. This is the only champion I use Aftershock on. I think Aftershock is very good in the right situation because it is doing the most damage out of all the keystones when you're playing the right character. Its base damage is really high early game. You're doing an auto attack's worth of damage passively, plus you're getting armor and magic resistance when you're trading with it. Low cooldown, 20 seconds. Only worth it if you can use the damage. I brought it on Scion once, didn't get the proc off a single time until maybe 35 minutes into the game. Since Scion usually trades with a QW and backs off, while Maokai W's in and kind of autos. So only on Maokai I'd say for now. Font of Life, pretty obvious, lots of CC, lots of people can proc it. Situational. I brought Revitalize last game, regretted it. Second wind, very good. Scorch, Maokai trades pretty hard with this. I don't think he needs Ultimate Hat. I don't think the Maokai ult is worth the CD reduction. Maokai ult is good, but it's not worth Ultimate Hat, really. I just feel like lowering Maokai ult CD won't change him much, while getting the extra damage in early game could mean the difference between a kill. I found that Scorch is pretty good in general. Transcendence, basically bringing Transcendence every time, except maybe if you're playing Tahm Kench. Movement speed is nice. This is almost the same for Nautilus. Going on to Ornn, we have Grasp of the Undying. Again, Aftershock wouldn't work on him because he can't really, he can kind of stick on, but usually when you're trading with Ornn, you're using your W autoing, and that's when it would start proccing, and then you back up. I think Aftershock would make you commit too much, and Grasp is perfect because you can build it up, just W them, get the Grasp auto off and your W auto off, and you can leave. Font of Life, lots of CC, these two as usual. Ultimate Hat, because super good on Ornn. Ornn ult is already low cooldown, and you can reduce it to 35 seconds in the late game, making it 55% reduced. This is nuts. Always take Ultimate Hat, and Transcendence is part of your core build of you get Iceborne Gauntlet, you get Abyssal Mask, that's 30%, Transcendence is 40%. And going on, we can go to Trundle. So Trundle is the only one I have not taken Resolve in the first tree, but at the same time, so this is what I take. Like, it's just basic attack speed kind of stuff, and he heals a lot, so Overheal would be good. You take the Revitalize might be better on Trundle just because of how much he heals, but still haven't tested this out. This is an experiment. And then if you didn't want to do that, Trundle can also run Grasp really well, and then he'll go Alacrity or Precision in the next tree because these are really good on him, attack speed and Overheal. You just get the best of... You just want to do some form of Precision and Resolve for Trundle. And last, the one that I've messed around with was Scion. Scion, I took Aftershock on and I didn't like it, so don't do that. Pretty much the same thing. You can try Overgrowth on Scion, but like I said, when I did the math earlier, it was really, really weak, and it just wasn't that worth it. So second wind. There's not too much different about this. This is almost the same exact thing as Maokai, except Grasp instead of Aftershock. You could potentially, this is actually for Maokai. I was testing this out earlier, yesterday on EU. You would take Cheap Shot on Maokai because every time you W auto, you're getting the true damage, and there's like guaranteed true damage. It's a guarantee because you're W autoing. The only problem I have with this is that there's no other good keystone, or there's no other good rune in this entire thing. You'd just be doing it for the true damage. So I figured if I was doing that, I might as well just go with the Transcendence CDR and the Scorch. So I'd say this is going to be the current meta for tanks and runes. I don't think there'll be a lot of changes unless they completely, unless they mess with the balance of the runes in the preseason. But for now, you can go ahead and stick to these as your pages, as this is definitely what I think is best. So, thanks for watching.